Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of And Just Like That, We Found Therapy. I am doing a solo episode today because today's episode means a lot to me. It's a big part of the reason why I started this podcast. And the episode is Season 2, Episode 18 of X and the City. And if you remember, this is the episode right after Carrie runs into Big with Natasha at the hoedown party in the Hamptons. And they're back in the city, and I think she's just kind of like getting adjusted to the fact that they're both back in New York and he doesn't belong to her and he belongs to somebody else. So I did a first recording of this episode where I tried to do my usual method where I go scene by scene and prompt questions to myself to discuss what I thought would be interesting therapy points to break up, but that didn't work, I think. So I'm going to do something else. I will summarize a bit the episode and then I'm going to discuss what I think are the main points that I think are relevant if you're going through anything remotely similar to this. And then I'll give you some homework and key takeaways. So first off, summary of the episode. As I said, this is right after Carrie finds out that Big is with Natasha. And this episode's theme is, can we be friends with an ex? So I can't for my life touch upon all their storylines, but basically Charlotte is trying to get back into horseback riding after a traumatic accident when she was a kid. Samantha meets a stallion in the street who is too well endowed even for her. Miranda runs into Steve for the first time and she runs away very dramatically. They end up sleeping together and Carrie keeps trying to have a happy ending with her story of Mr. Big, even when he's with somebody else. So the first subject that I want to touch upon is we need to completely erase that cool ex myth. I believe that in this episode there's a lot of antagonizing of the ex, which I think it's normal, but at the end of the day, when we villainize the new girlfriend instead of our ex, what that gives us is a vessel for our rage, but also our internalized misogyny. In that scenario, she's just an obstacle for you to get back with your ex, which I don't think is helping you move on. So if you find yourself trying to villainize the ex, remember, she's with your ex-boyfriend, and if he's consistent at all, she probably has a lot in common with you. And you guys would probably get along. And at the end of the day, if you find yourself competing with this woman, you're comparing the video material of your backstage scenes with her highlight reels. Like you're only picking at her qualities that make you feel most insecure, comparing it with your deepest, darkest secrets that only probably you know. So Carrie wants to be chill, polished, and graceful, but sometimes performing for the one who hurt you can be a form of self-abandonment and even self-betrayal. So honestly, don't give a fuck. Like, if you have to grieve this and not be so cool and so graceful, so be it. You don't have to punish yourself for grieving someone. That's how you start healing, and there is power in being authentic. Then the other theme of the episode that I want to touch upon is closure, because in this episode Carrie has us following her chasing her dreamy closure with Mr. Big, and I think you can see this several times when she first calls him to try and have that lunch and then at the end of the episode. But when she calls and she's just being a bit awkward, and the minute she called and Natasha picked up, you could see that she was not ready to be friends. She was super nervous. And then she agreed to have this lunch where she completely dressed up. And I think all the expectations that she had about this lunch, which included her not knowing that Natasha was something serious was horrendous. So she shows up to that lunch and it is heartbreaking. And I think she sees Mr. Big also be quite nervous. And she says, you know, the friend version of myself was quite compassionate about the fact that he was so nervous. But the ex-girlfriend version of me was quite smug. But let me tell you, maybe Mr. Big was so nervous because he knew he was gonna eat shit the minute he told her they were engaged. So be careful what you wish for. Like, I think every time that you place a bet and gamble to prove a point to someone that you should not care about half as much as you do of your own well-being, this may come and bite you like it does. When Mr. Big says to Carrie, like, Carrie, it's serious, we're engaged, she storms out of the restaurant and it's just so heartbreaking. She says she has a headache. She starts screaming and she says, don't you dare say her name to me. Don't you dare be nice to me. You're supposed to have commitment issues. And I think, you know, we need to talk about the lie that we call closure. Because sometimes when we say we want closure, all we want is for them to say that they've made a huge mistake and they regret it and they miss us and they want to have us back. And closure is just often code for, I need you to want me again. So in terms of closure, I think always choose yourself. I think a good way to start making strides for this, if you feel that that man is no longer available to you and it should be over. Over. We're so over, we need another word for over. Write them a letter. Don't send it. Put pen to paper every time that you feel that you want to say something. Reach out and just say it to yourself. Like, put it on a paper. There's something powerful about the letters that we do write and then we never send, but we keep. And don't kid yourself. And be honest. Like, is the closure that you want really closure? Or is it you trying to rewrite the narrative so in that story you don't feel unlovable and you don't feel like you weren't chosen? The other theme of this episode is how to make peace with not being chosen. So he picked someone else. Good. Now you're free. Just because you weren't chosen doesn't mean that you weren't unforgettable. Repeat after me. Also, rejection doesn't mean that you're unlovable. He didn't pick you not because you weren't enough, but because he wasn't ready for somebody who was. You weren't rejected, you were released. The other topic that I think is interesting when you are trying to let go of somebody that maybe is moving on before you are and you're still a bit hang on to them is nostalgia. So what do we do when we miss them? First, ask yourself, do you really miss them or do you miss the version of yourself that you've curated and you've projected to be your standard? Because there's a lot of good things, but there was probably a reason why you broke up. And also, if somebody has let you go, I always think what is meant for you won't miss you. So remember, that person is not your person. Is not you. It's just that he's not for you. Again, the highlight reel in your head isn't the whole film, is the trailer you cut to survive. So when you find yourself reaching for those nice memories where you had a great time and you guys were like, I don't know, galloping into the sunset together, remember all the times that that relationship made you feel small. He made you feel stupid. He made you feel like you had to be smaller. There's always a reason why you broke up. And if they are meant for you, they will find it. I don't think anybody here should be trying to convince anybody to have them back. So, my conclusion. Can you be friends with an ex? I think it's fair to say no. Not if they were a big love. I think Miranda proves it. Carrie proves it in this episode. I think there's a big thing about muscle memory for me when it comes to somebody that has been 80% of the time their role in my life has been a significant other. The first few times that I see them and I actually try to spend time with them one-on-one, because I've been there, I've tried, it's very hard for me to break those kind of like the bridges that my brain has set of like, this is the way that you act and relate to this person. So I'm very lovey-dovey. I feel like I'm very touchy-feely, and sometimes I've found myself reaching to like, I don't know, like fix somebody's hair or take care of like some residue that they had in their mouth after, I don't know, having a cappuccino or pasta, and the reaction of like, don't, hurts. I think I read somewhere that it takes 30 to 40 days for your brain to get the message that this is something new and you need to do it differently those 30 or 40 times in order for your brain to like lay the new connections of this is the new reality. And let me tell you how little time I have, and you should too, to spend 30 or 40 days with your ex where you train your brain to not want to be lovey-dovey. So if you think you want to be friends with your ex, ask yourself, is it because you miss him so much that you think you almost physically hurt? Is there a part of yourself that still hopes he'll realize he made a mistake? Do you think you'd crash and burn if you saw him with somebody else or you heard he's with somebody else? If you answered yes to one or more of these questions, chances are you're not ready. So to all the Carries out there that want to answer Mr. Biggs, why wasn't it me? He didn't say not you because you weren't enough. He said not you because he couldn't meet you where you were. Asking why wasn't it me keeps you stuck trying to rewrite a love story that already ended. Not because you were unlovable, but because he wasn't available in the ways that you wanted him to. Emotionally, spiritually, and consistently. So that to me sums up more or less what I wanted to transmit about this episode. I think this episode is very valuable to anyone that is trying to get over someone and that someone may be moving on before you are. I would love to know if there has been times where anybody found it extra hard and maybe other ways that they found it easy for them to move on. But I asked ChatGPT to give me a few takeaways, and I can't stress enough how little patience I have for tearing other women down. Allow yourself to be curious about the new girlfriend, but be very respectful of your own boundaries. If you feel that at some point stalking the ex stops giving you information and starts making you feel like shit, write down in every single way that it makes you feel like shit, because it probably has nothing to do with her. It has to do with wounds that you had there before. And chances are she's getting a refined version of the truth that you know, so she'll get there. But in terms of 5 takeaways that I think would help anybody in this situation is, number 1, acknowledge the betrayal of your fantasy. You're not just mourning them, you're mourning the story you told yourself. Now he's ready, but it's not you. That shadows more than a heart. It shadows a timeline that you were surviving on. Self-soothe by naming it clearly. I'm grieving the version of him I believed in and the future I thought we had. And let it be. Number 2, regulate your nervous system before your thoughts. Heartbreak hijacks your entire body. Your chest tightens, your stomach drops, you feel like you're in danger. Breathe into your belly. Slow, intentional breaths. Hold something cold to pull you out of the spiral. Put your hand on your chest and say, this hurts, but I am safe. I am still here. I am allowed to feel this. 3, remind yourself you didn't get the best version of him. You got the most honest one. So as I said, she will probably get him eventually too. If he had to become someone else to love her, then you weren't rejected. You were just incompatible with his pretending. Number 4, name what you wanted and give it to yourself anyway. Make a list of what you thought he'd give you. Love, stability, being chosen, belonging. Then ask, where in my life can I give myself that now? It's not a perfect substitute, but it builds new neural pathways. And it shifts you from powerless to present. Okay, this is my therapy trick for this one. You can write, I wanted him to make me feel blank. Then build practices around creating that for yourself. And finally, number 5, turn the pain into a boundary, not a blueprint. Don't let these teach you that you're unlovable. Let it teach that you will never again beg for breadcrumbs. You will never again wait for someone to be ready. This pain is not proof that I wasn't enough. It's proof that I tried to build a life with somebody who wasn't available for it. So those are my key takeaways. Again, I would love to hear about anybody that has any more. I'd love to hear about anybody that maybe is feeling a bit low and finding it hard to get over somebody that is moving on maybe before they are ready to. And lastly, I think I'm going to take a little break after the end of this season. I'm going to focus on my socials and maybe come as a guest on other podcasts. And don't forget to rate 5 stars, leave me any comments on this podcast. It really helps the podcast, and share it with your friends. And also, please follow me on socials. I am at We Found Therapy Pod on both TikTok and Instagram. And finally, I want to say that I love everybody that's been listening and that is listening today. And thank you so much for all the guests that came on to this season. I love y'all, and I'll see you very soon.